The music stopped, but she kept spinning. Her crutch slipped on the cold pavement, and for one terrifying second, it looked like she would fall straight into the busy street. A black luxury car screeched to a halt inches away. The driver's door flew open. And the man who stepped out was not just any passerby. Before we go any further, if stories like this touch your heart, make sure you're subscribed to Kindness Teles. Tap like if you believe kindness can change a life, and share your thoughts in the comments as we unravel what happened that day. Her name was Lily Harper, and every afternoon, just as the offices in downtown Chicago began to empty, she would take her place on the corner of West Monroe Street. The wind there always felt sharper between the tall glass buildings, slicing through coats and scarves. But Lily showed up anyway. She was 16 years old, small for her age, with soft brown curls usually tucked under a knitted beanie. Her right leg was thinner than the left, weakened by a childhood car accident that had left her with permanent nerve damage. She wore a brace under her leggings and relied on a single metal crutch to steady herself. Doctors had told her she would never dance again. They didn't know Lily. Music was the only thing that ever made her feel whole. When she was little, she used to twirl around her family's tiny living room in their South Side apartment while her mother clapped and laughed from the couch. After the accident, after the hospital rooms and surgeries and whispered conversations about limitations, Lily refused to let go of that dream. She couldn't leap the way she once had, and she couldn't balance without help. But she learned new ways to move. Slower. Softer. Different. Her father had left when medical bills began stacking up higher than hope. Her mother worked double shifts at a nursing home, coming home with aching feet and a tired smile. Rent was always late. Groceries were counted down to the last slice of bread. Lily started dancing on the streets not because she wanted attention, but because she needed bus fare for physical therapy and extra money to keep the lights on. She would place a small portable speaker beside her, set down an old hat for tips, and begin. She didn't beg. She performed. At first, people stared out of curiosity. Some looked uncomfortable. A few shook their heads as if pitying her was easier than understanding her. But then the music would rise, and Lily would lift her chin, and something would shift. She moved with grace that had nothing to do with perfect technique. It was in the way her arms floated like wings, in the determined strength of her posture, in the way she used her crutch almost like a dance partner, spinning around it, balancing against it, trusting it. Coins began to drop. Then dollar bills. Sometimes a warm smile. Sometimes nothing at all. On that particular Thursday, the sky was gray and heavy. Lily's hands were stiff from the cold, but she kept going. She was practicing a piece she'd choreographed herself to an instrumental piano track. The song built slowly, gently, and she matched it, each movement careful and controlled. Across the street, a black Mercedes pulled up at a red light. Inside sat Daniel Whitmore, CEO of a fast-growing tech company headquartered just 2 blocks away. At 38, he had the kind of schedule that left little room for noticing anything outside boardrooms and balance sheets. He had back-to-back meetings, investors calling non-stop, and a charity gala to attend that evening. He wasn't looking for a miracle on a street corner. But when he heard the music drifting faintly through his rolled-up window, he glanced up. At first, he saw only a small figure moving against the gray cityscape. Then he noticed the crutch. Then the brace. Then the way she turned, not with hesitation, but with fierce concentration. The light turned green. Cars behind him honked. He didn't move. Lily entered the final spin of her routine, pushing slightly harder than she should have. Her crutch caught on a crack in the pavement. Her balance faltered. And that's when Daniel's driver instincts kicked in. He hit the brakes as she stumbled dangerously close to the curb. By the time he stepped out of the car, Lily had managed to steady herself. Her cheeks were flushed, partly from the cold, partly from embarrassment. A few people had gasped. Someone muttered that she should be more careful. Daniel approached slowly, not wanting to startle her. Up close, he could see the strain in her leg, the determination in her eyes. He expected her to look defeated after that near fall. Instead, she was adjusting her speaker and preparing to start again. "You almost got hurt," he said gently. She looked up at him, surprised by the concern in his voice. "I'm okay," she replied, brushing a curl away from her face. "I've fallen before. You learn how to land." He noticed the hat at her feet with a handful of crumpled bills. "Why are you doing this out here?" he asked. She hesitated. Pride flickered across her expression. "Because I can't afford studio classes anymore. And my mom works too hard already. So I practice here. And if people leave tips, that helps." There was no self-pity in her tone. Just facts. Daniel felt something twist in his chest. He had funded arts programs before, signed checks with polite smiles. But he had never stood on a windy sidewalk and looked into the eyes of a teenager who refused to give up on something everyone else had written off. "What's your name?" he asked. "Lily." "Well, Lily," he said after a pause, "would you be willing to show me that dance again?" She blinked. "Right now?" "Right now." So she nodded, adjusted her brace, and pressed play. The music began again. Daniel didn't look at his phone. He didn't glance at his watch. He watched her. He saw how she compensated for her weaker leg by strengthening her upper body. He saw the hours of practice in every controlled movement. He saw courage stitched into every turn. When the song ended, the sidewalk had grown quiet. Even the usual rush of commuters seemed to slow. Daniel reached into his wallet. Instead of dropping a bill into her hat, he handed her a sleek white card. "I own a dance studio a few blocks from here," he said. "It's mostly used for community programs. I think it deserves someone like you in it." She stared at the card, unsure whether to believe him. "I can't pay for private lessons," she said quickly. "I'm not asking you to," he replied. That evening, after convincing her cautious mother that he wasn't some stranger with hidden motives, Daniel arranged for Lily to visit the studio. It was bright and spacious, with mirrored walls and polished wooden floors. Lily had never seen anything like it outside of television. The first time she stepped onto that floor, she didn't speak. She just stood there, taking it in. Daniel hired a professional instructor experienced in adaptive dance. He covered Lily's therapy sessions. He even adjusted the studio schedule so she could practice during quiet hours without feeling self-conscious. But he didn't stop there. Over the next few months, Daniel attended nearly every practice. At first, he told himself it was to ensure his investment was worthwhile. Soon, he realized it was because watching Lily dance reminded him of something he had lost along the way. Joy without calculation. Passion without profit. Lily grew stronger. Her confidence bloomed in ways that had nothing to do with her leg. She performed at small community events, then local showcases. People stopped seeing the brace first. They saw the artist. One evening, nearly a year after that cold afternoon on Monroe Street, the studio hosted a charity performance to support accessible arts programs for children with disabilities. The auditorium was full. Daniel sat in the front row, hands clasped tightly. When Lily stepped onto the stage, the lights softened around her. There was no hat for tips. No traffic noise. Just silence waiting to be filled. She began to dance. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't effortless. But it was powerful. Every movement told the story of sidewalks and wind and stubborn hope. When she finished, the audience rose to their feet in a standing ovation that seemed to stretch on forever. Lily searched the crowd until her eyes found Daniel's. She didn't need to say thank you. He saw it in the tears she was trying to blink away. What started as a moment of nearly losing balance had become something neither of them expected. Daniel later expanded his foundation to create scholarships specifically for adaptive dancers across the city. Lily began mentoring younger children who felt limited by their own challenges. Years from now, people might remember the awards she wins or the stages she graces. But she will always remember the cold afternoon when a stranger chose to stop instead of drive away. Kindness doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it's simply noticing someone the world has grown used to overlooking. It's choosing to pause in the middle of a busy day. It's believing in someone before they fully believe in themselves. If this story moved you, think about the lily in your own city. The one practicing quietly, hoping someone sees them. And when you do see them, don't just pass by. Your encouragement, your time, your small act of support might become the turning point they've been waiting for. Share your own stories of kindness in the comments, and let's remind each other that a single moment of compassion can change the direction of a life.